This is VOCM Open Line. Call 709-273-5211 or 1-888-590-8626. The views and opinions of this program are not necessarily those of this station. The biggest conversation in Newfoundland and Labrador starts now. Here's VOCM Open Line host Paddy Daly.
Well, all right, and good morning to you. Thank you so much for tuning into the program. It's Wednesday, September the 24th. This is Open Line. I'm your host, Paddy Daly. David Williams. He's produced the program. Let's get it going. If you're in the St. John's metro region, the number to dial to get in the queue and on the air is 709-273-5211. Elsewhere, toll-free long distance, 1-888-590-VOCM, which is 8626. The Jays. Oh, man. So here they are after losing last night to the Red Sox. The Yankees win. The Jays are one game up in the American League East. I mean, your best player's got to be your best players. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. has been dismal. It doesn't even look like himself. And obviously, the loss of Bo Bichette is a bigger deal than I thought it might be. But here we go. So, yeah. But talk about crumble. Look over in the Central. On the 8th of July, the Tigers had a 15.5 game lead on the Cleveland Guardians. 10.5 on September the 1st. 9.5 on September the 10th. They're tied. That's an unbelievable crumble from the Tigers. Anyway. On this date, memorable night for Canadian sports. On this date, September 24th of 1988, Ben Johnson won the 100-meter finals at the Summer Olympics in Seoul, lowered his own world record to 9.79 seconds. He was the first Canadian sprinter since Percy Williams in 1928 to win the 100 meters at the Olympics, and of course we all know what happened after that. He was busted for doping. Carl Lewis was awarded the gold medal, and the world record time of 9.92. Okay. Oh, I wanted to use this baseball set. I said I'd save one for Dave here. All right. Major League Baseball has been around for 147 years. 147 years. And since then, there's only been somewhere in the neighborhood of 23,000 players to suit up to play Major League Baseball. The smallest stadium by capacity is Progressive Field at 37,830. So if every single player who has ever put on a big league uniform from 1876 to 2023 sat in the stands, then its capacity only at 61%. That's really amazing. Anyway, all right. This is not a great story. So we've been talking about animal cruelty and the story out in Harbour Grace regarding the emaciated dogs and all the rest of it. I heard this story, and I thought I'd put it out there this morning. It's about a dog attack that happened here in the city of St. John's, Friday afternoon. A 14-year-old little sweetheart named Max, attacked by a dark grey American Bulldog mix in Wishingwell Park. So the owner, white guy, roughly about 5'9", arm tattoos, shaved head, had 3 similar breed dogs. The dog that attacked young 14-year-old Max burrowed under 2 fences to get at the puppy. So bit the nose, serious injuries, rushed to the vet. He might be okay, but significant facial injuries, and we'll see what becomes of it. Apparently, this is not the first altercation between that particular dog and other dogs in the neighborhood. So if you know anything about it, because that dog might be the one that attacks your dog or your cat or your kid into the future. So there you go. And on a related story, it's not the dog, it's the owner. And it's not the dog, it might be the trainer. This lady who's a board-certified animal behaviorist, her name is Sarita Palau. I know her because Dexter went to her school. So she's talking about the fact that all you need is a leash to call yourself a trainer. So the industry is completely unregulated, and of course some of these trainers are using very aggressive tactics to try to show that your dog is well behaved, when in fact those aggressive tactics can turn your dog into an aggressive dog. So once again, it's not the dog, it's the owner, and it could be the trainer. So be very careful when you sign your dog up for some puppy school and some training lessons. You might be putting the dog in the hands of someone who's going to turn your dog into something like that American Bulldog that went after 14-year-old Max. So maybe it's a good idea to regulate that particular industry, because there's a lot on the line. I mean, there just is, obviously, right? So you want to take on that or anything in the animal world, happy to do it. All right, let's move on. Social media, failed experiment. So there's been a joint investigation between the Federal Privacy Commissioner and counterparts in British Columbia, Alberta and Quebec. And what they have found is that TikTok is not preventing the collection and the use of children's sensitive personal information. So they use it for profiling, targeting purposes. All of these safeguards are inadequate. So it can have a real distinct impact on your child's overall well-being. So you're not supposed to be on TikTok for users under the age of 13. But what they found out through the investigation, there are hundreds of thousands of Canadian children on that platform each year. And TikTok is abusing their privacy and their personal information. So, number one, I think it's fair to assert that social media, TikTok in this case, they don't care. Right? They're all about the number of users. That's how they use their brag. That's how they sell their advertising. That's how they make their money. But it is having a detrimental impact. Here's one of the quotes coming from Federal Privacy Commissioner Philip Dufresne. Our investigation found that the measures TikTok has in place to keep children off the popular video sharing platform and to prevent the collection and use of their sensitive personal information for profiling and content targeting purposes, TikTok must do more to keep underage children off its platform. Also goes on to say that it has significant impacts on children's well-being. Look, I've seen social media turn people from pretty rational, reasonable people into far less than that in very short order. So you can only, and these are adults, you can only imagine the impact it's having on kids. So yes, some of these platforms can be quite fun and sharing some pretty innocent information and recipes and dances and stuff, but it can also be extremely harmful. You've heard the stories as much as I have. You know, whether it be the digital pile-on in the form of mob mentality bullying and what that can mean for a young child. So I suppose it's always worth that conversation with our kids because we want them to feel like we trust them. We want them to feel like they're independent. But a really well-intentioned kid who's just using one of these platforms for fun can very quickly turn into a very dark place. So TikTok in particular, and of course remember, you know, the federal government said that federal government employees couldn't use TikTok because of the ownership and the harvesting of information on government devices, that is. Anyway, I thought that one was a big one. All right. Stick with children. And this story, I read it a couple of days ago, but we'll put it out there this morning. And it's some of the loopholes in cost coverage for medications. And this is a story told by Hilary Fry. She was 18 months old when she was admitted to the hospital with one of her kids. The Fry family, two twin boys, Reed and Noah. The mom's talking about the nightmare of seeing one of her sons struggle to breathe and worried that any old virus that he could see him sent to the hospital. So they went through the gamut of working with pediatric teams and asthma specialists, eventually prescribed what is a biologic medication called Dupixent. Okay, every 4 weeks, the young child gets 2 milliliters of medication through an injection in his leg. Those 2 milliliters cost $1,100. Here's the problem. So they refer to it as an off-label use. It's been approved for treating asthma in children 6 years or older. This child's only 4. At the exact same time, it's been approved for children with eczema 6 months and up. So here's young Reed right in the middle of the approval stage and at $1,100 a month. Regardless if they go to their insurance, try to get into a clinical trial, denied. Is it not reasonable, if it's approved for eczema from 6 months up, that it should be approved for, in this case, to try to deal with severe asthma that this poor child has? So we hear these stories quite often. So not necessarily all about kids, but in this case, absolutely about the kids. You want to take it on? We can do it. Sticking with children, and in this case, education. It's a crying shame, and I can imagine how furious people who contributed to the Education Accord over the course of 18 months put their time, energy, effort, expertise, professional background into an extremely important 10-year roadmap to modernize and to transform the kindergarten to grade 12 system. We all know the story. Now with these so-called 15 fictional citations, if you hear from people, all of a sudden, it has seriously damaged the credibility of the report, which I think is a shame. It'd be nice to know exactly what happened. And is there a way to take what was the hard work done by committees and subcommittees to provide this report about the education system and see that when they try to rectify the errors that have been identified and clean it up as best possible, that we can get back to trying to deal with the crux of what's in the Accord? But man, someone's got to know exactly who's responsible for including these 15 fictional citations. It's a huge problem. You hear from people in academia saying, if you submitted that report as part of classwork, then it would be rejected. And that's the consequence here. Too many people, or so many people, are rejecting it in full. But boy, oh boy, you want to talk about it. Let's go. Anything in education, you know me, I love talking about it. All right, healthcare, and on the campaign trail. I will start every day talking about campaign pledges and promises, talking about, yes, some of it really sounds great, but I really need the political leaders to talk about the debt and deficit as well. We just do. We just absolutely do. It's long overdue. But let's get into some of the healthcare pledges. Premier Hogan on the campaign trail out in Botwood talk about committing 14 new family care teams and 10 mobile teams. So the government has all created somewhere in the neighbourhood of 21 family care teams since 2023. The collaborative care clinic makes all the sense in the world, because not everybody needs to see a family doctor or a medical doctor as opposed to some of the other pros working in the clinic. The only issue is to get it right, because if you look across the country, these primary care teams is the go-to. And of course, the promise here is to have 35 of these teams peppered right across the province. We have to ensure that it's not just a matter of taking one healthcare professional and moving them on to another clinic, out of the hospital or out of the emergency room or out of their own clinic and into a primary care team. It's the need to add professionals to make this the plan that it should be. And it's a good idea, the primary care team. You know, Conservatives, Liberals, NDP right across the country doing the exact same thing. Then the mobile units, which makes a lot of sense to me too. So doctor and a registered nurse travelling right around. The kickoff for these mobile teams will be starting in Fortune Harbour, Point Leamington, and Leading Tickles. That makes sense to me. Healthcare, but again, even when we talk about Mr. Wakeham's plan to incentivise and create all these new positions to cover rural Newfoundland and Labrador, we still need to know exactly what that means and where these healthcare professionals are and how they could be added to the roster inside that world. Okay, Mr. Wakeham and the PCs are talking about air service for medical travel. Fair enough. He made this announcement out in Gander yesterday. So talking about appointments to and from medical services unavailable in their area for free. If we fly you in, we got to fly you out. Then there's a reference to the contract worth about $561.7 million, a 10-year deal with Medivy. There's still some concerns inside that as exactly what was in the RFP versus what's been announced that was not included in the pages of the RFP. And so consequently, what is so critically important is now also very confusing. So you want to get into any of those healthcare pledges or concerns from wherever you are in the province, let's do it. Mr. Din yesterday, the NDP, they got a full slate of candidates. That's good for them. First time since 2015. 21 of the 40 are women or non-binary, which the NDP have always talked about the importance of. But they're leaning in on, again, campaign finance reform. And good for them. I wish every party would adopt similar thoughts on campaign finance reform. All right, just a couple more pledges and promises before we get to you. So Mr. Wakeham, leader of the Tories, the Progressive Conservatives, say that if they are successful here and become the next government, have the opportunity to form the next government, they will close the Premier's satellite office in Grand Falls, Windsor. So from the outside looking in, I don't know what the impact has been in Central. Why? Because I'm a bloody townie. But has it been helpful in the area? If you ask the Mayor of Bishops Falls, Brian King, he says absolutely. They've been able to facilitate some work with the Premier's office through the satellite office. The question I would have, and Mayor King, you're more than welcome to join the show this morning, is could that work also have been achieved dealing with the Premier's office on the 8th floor Confederation building in town? Or am I missing something here? Look, if it's been helpful, if it's been effective, then it's worth the conversation and consideration and what the monies might look like. So budgeted this year, somewhere over $2 million, which includes the 2 staffers and operational expense to have the office. Is there value for money there or no? I don't have the answer. Only people in Central, I think, can really justifiably answer that question. So the Tories say they'll open it. Premier Hogan has not even committed necessarily to keeping it open, but calls it important to have access. He says it's invaluable. So I'm not so sure that's a full-throated, we will maintain it, but the Tories, Mr. Wakeham says it's gone if they are successful in the election. How are we doing on the phone, Dave? And one of the big ones, of course, will remain the Upper Churchill Memorandum of Understanding. All right. Just point out some of the questions or concerns that have been brought forward. And right at the top of it, they talk about governance and the role of Newfoundland Labrador Hydro's board and their fiduciary duty to ensure all of the accurate and complete information is in the hands of the general public. And one of the comments in that section, whether it be provided by Michael Wilson or others, is that citizens are left confused, misinformed. I think that's probably true. The confusion out there surrounding this mega project is massive. Then they simply talk about the structure of the MOU itself. The fact that there's two massive deals, people refer to four massive deals, but it's really two, because with a dam or expansion at a hydroelectric facility comes with transmission. So it's two, which absolutely leads to some of the complication and to some of the confusion. And then it was the no independent valuation at Gull Island itself. Then they talk about benefits that are articulated in the MOU, saying things like 5.9 cents per kilowatt hour, and referring to Hydro-Quebec's their statements regarding replacement costs would be somewhere in the neighborhood of 13 cents. Then it's the value over the course of time. They talk about, on average, $1 billion per year between now and 2041. In the big number of $225 billion, somewhere in the neighborhood of 90% is after 2041. And then you need to talk about value adjustments for inflation, which comes down to a real value in the long term. Okay. Then it's some of the fact sheets that have been put out by Newfoundland Labrador Hydro. The critics are saying that they don't paint a clear and fulsome picture. So, what we need to do, as like I said earlier in the week, what we basically have here are either side of this coin talking about it in a vacuum. What we really need, like for instance, if I just compile concerns we've heard from, just pick a person, whichever, from Michael Wilson on down, is what we need, and we're going to try to organize some more time here with Jennifer Williams to put these questions directly to. She was in the room, she's the CEO of Hydro, so my only interest here is trying to get the most comprehensive, easy to understand, in layman's language, exactly what's in this. It's too important to fool around with. And I'm not suggesting anyone's fooling around with it. That's poor choice of words. But we do need to put specific concerns to someone who is a negotiator, who's part of the process since the beginning. And so we'll invite Miss Williams back on and hope she has time so we can try to help all of us, including myself, figure this out. All right, a couple of quickies. The Alison Coffin conversation is fascinating. Running in two different districts, remarkable that has not been addressed in the act itself. So these years-long calls from me and many others about democratic reform and modernizing the act and campaign finance reform, all of these things have gone by the wayside, and here we are where we are. Makes no sense to me. All right. So what begins today is the gun buyback program. Oh, man. So when people talk about public safety and the types of guns and where they are and who has them in their hands, it's a reasonable starting point for conversation. But the gun buyback program, if you listen to law enforcement, is destined to fail. There's been somewhere in the neighborhood of 2,500 models of firearms that have been banned since 2020. The unfortunate reality and the unfortunate facts here is that even with the bans in place, crime statistics using firearms are up. So I think gun control is a meaningful conversation. Of course it is. But does this make sense? We have no earthly idea. Now, it's only rolling out beginning today in Cape Breton. We have no idea how much it's going to cost. None. And then you listen to law enforcement agencies, and they talk about, we're not getting the guns from the people causing chaos in community and committing gun-related crime by doing this. Is it ham-fisted? Absolutely. Do we know how much it's going to cost? No idea. So here's some quotes directly from folks who are either professors of justice studies, like this guy here, Doug King. It won't impact crime rates. And then you go on and hear from the president of the Toronto Police Association. We know that the gun buyback program is going to have essentially zero impact on the crime in Toronto. Then you hear from the union that represents the RCMP, the National Police Federation. They say that this program diverts extremely important personnel, resources, and funding away from addressing the more immediate and growing threat of criminal use of illegal firearms. And of course, the illegal firearms, the vast majority of them, come to this country south of the border from the United States. So that's the crackdown area, isn't it? More law enforcement, different training, legislation catching up with things like ghost guns and the like, and much stricter enforcement of controlling the import of guns and drugs at the border. You're never going to catch every single ounce of cocaine. You're not going to catch every single gun. But that's where they're coming from. Don't take it from me. Take it from the National Police Chiefs Association. So if we're going to be serious about public safety and gun violence, let's go after where the guns come from. And on that front, if we're to blame for fentanyl and other drugs and whatever and migrants going into the United States, doesn't that mean it's the state's fault? That all these guns are making their way into Canada? Oh, that's just a bit tongue-in-cheek, but anyway. We're on Twitter, or VOCM Open Line. Follow us there. Email address is openline@vocm.com. When we come back, let's have a great show. First off, we're going to talk healthcare. Now, people talk about wait lists to get an MRI or to see a specialist. We talk about access to primary care. But one facet of healthcare is also the number of missed or skipped appointments. Josh Taylor's with the Tech Squad. He's the founder and CEO. We'll talk about exactly that right after this. Don't go away. Welcome back. When I say missed appointments, sometimes I think people hear me saying that I'm blaming it on the individual. Well, some of the onus is on the individual, but some of the onus is also obviously on the system. Just to use a quote from then Minister of Health and Community Services, Tom Osborne, this back in 2023. The monetary cost for missed appointments is in the tens of millions of dollars. It's difficult to measure, but it's probably a couple of $100 million. Join us on line number 2 is Josh Taylor, the CEO and founder of Tech Squad. Good morning, Josh. You're on the air.
Hey, Patty. Thanks for having me.
Happy to have you on. Look, this is an important part of the conversation that kind of gets left by the wayside. So what exactly is Tech Squad?
So we're a St. John's technology company, so we're a startup. We've been around for about 6 years. But really, we're a patient engagement platform. So at the core, it's as simple as this. It's just a two-way texting with AI. So if people, wonder what that is, it's literally just texting back and forth with the doctor's office. Now, the system does more than that, but at its heart, that's kind of the core of just making patient engagement very simple by using texting at its core.
And so is this all input insofar as the algorithm is concerned with information directly from the doctor? Because we do know that there can be problems if you talk about like garbage in results in garbage out. So bad information in the algorithm produces bad info. So how does it start at the doctor's office?
Oh, yeah, that's a great question. So there's a lot of different uses for our system, but the primary one is to remind people that an appointment is coming up, to make it easy for them to communicate if there are challenges. Because, you mentioned people forget about appointments. That does happen. Maybe the letter doesn't arrive, or you missed a phone call, or maybe you never got one. But also life happens, right? You get stuck in traffic, your child's sick, and if you can't get in touch with your doctor's office in real time, then there's no way to reschedule and that resource is lost. So that's kind of the core, but we do a lot more than that. We're a multilingual platform, so we support new Canadians, as well as we're a medium through which patients can rate and give quality feedback on their service. But we're also into more complex use cases, like in bariatric surgery. We did a project to allow surgeons to communicate directly with patients post-surgery to make sure that, the symptoms they were seeing were what would normally be expected, which would keep them out of, say, the emergency room and get infection. So there's a lot of different ways. But I should say when I mean AI, I'm talking about saving and summarizing for reports, not making medical decisions. We're there to help people in the healthcare system, to make them superheroes. We're not there to take over any medical advice.
For sure. And you could have gotten an appointment that the wait time was a year. And as you say, life happens. That can just fall out of your mind. Maybe your symptoms have waned, like whatever the case may be. So missed appointments, to quote Minister Osborne, costs us untold tens of millions of dollars per year. Okay. So you've been operating in Ontario, as far as I understand. What has success looked like? Like, give us a benchmark of how many appointments were being missed versus the application using Tech Squad and the reduction of missed appointments.
Actually, our primary, we started in Newfoundland, actually, Patty, with a pilot project in 2023. And so the Newfoundland Health Innovation Team have been fantastic, and they helped us shape this opportunity. So we deployed last year in the family care teams, 2 in St. John's, Holyrood, and Bay St. George. And as well, we deployed in the new Canadian clinic, as well as walk-in clinics and endovascular and bariatric surgery, as I just mentioned, among a few other use cases. Through that, we saw significant reductions in no-shows. In clinics that had really low no-show rates, like in Bay St. George, where they put a lot of energy into calling patients, they were able to no longer call them and still maintain that success. But other clinics where they had 10, 12, 14% challenges with basically no-shows or lost appointments, we were able to reduce that in some cases 30, 50, and 80%. So it really depends on the patient demographic and how acute the problem is, but we're able to see 50 to 80% reduction. And we see that outside of Newfoundland as well. As you mentioned, we're in Ontario. We're across Canada now in private clinics. And kind of our big push right now is to replicate the success that we've had with Newfoundland Health Services with Ontario Health.
So obviously what you just said there makes it certainly beneficial to the clinic as well, because my initial thought was great for patients, to have that helpful reminder, the two-way texting, make sure that I'm always in the loop as to what's going on. But for the clinic, the time spent trying to remind patients that they have an upcoming appointment is time that could be better spent doing anything else.
Absolutely. And actually, the data proves that. We had 87% satisfaction rate among the staff in the pilot process. 83 and up of patients both enjoyed texting and thought it was very easy and loved it. But here's the thing, Patty. Texting is great, but what it also does is it drives down phone calls overall, so it frees up the phone for those people who are not able to text. And they want to call in, now they can get through. So a lot of people just liked it. It's so simple, but just being able to get in touch with your doctor. And of course, that medium, texting, works so well because it's the app that everyone has on their phone that they're always logged into. These health apps where you got another login in another place and it's on your computer or it's on your home. It creates a lot of barrier to engagement, so it's not a real good place to communicate.
So you talk about it having rolled out as a pilot here. If we're reducing no-shows, consequently saving money, consequently freeing up staff to do other more important things, where's the next steps or next stages with this government?
Absolutely. So the pilot project ended last year, and then we kept it going until we did a Eastern and Western procurement for the family care teams. That started in April, and since then we've rolled out to Port aux Basques. And in the next few weeks, we're rolling out to Corner Brook and Humber Valley, so that'll come in the start of October. As well, we filled in the rest of the family care teams in the St. John's area. In terms of a broader procurement, we're working with NLHS to make that happen, and we're hopeful that we can get this out because it's not a year-long project. It's nothing. It's already through the privacy. Everything's ready to go. If a clinic deploys our system, it's really from the time they first email us and we schedule a trip, it's less than 2 weeks, and they're live, and they're immediately getting those impacts.
Let's talk about cost-benefit analysis, which would be part of your role and, of course, also for the government. So if we're talking about the potential for savings, how much does your service cost? And I don't even know how you charge it on per clinic, per patient. I'm not sure how that works, but give us some sort of sense of cost-benefit.
Yeah, well, during the pilot project, and of course, you can always cherry pick data, Patty. You can pick really bad clinics or really good clinics a little bit, but we saw a 12x ROI on our system. So 12x just on no-show appointments. So independent of improved patient navigation, independent of better health data, independent of staff satisfaction, we saw a 12x just on ROI just from no-shows. So the value is there. Our system is a software system. It's not incredibly expensive, and the value it provides is immediate.
Anything else you'd like to add, Josh, while we have you?
Oh, nothing. Just that I'd say that NLHS has been a fantastic partner and very helpful, as have NRC and the Genesis Group. And St. John's is a great place to start a tech company. And we've seen fantastic traction as we've moved across. So we've got 3 pilot projects starting in Ontario, as well as we've already gone live at a few of their community health clinics, which are like a not-for-profit equivalent of our family care teams. And we're seeing the same results. And to be honest, Patty, we do have a couple of projects and a lot of individual small clients in the U.S., but the Buy Canadian component of this has been very, very positive throughout the rest of Canada. We're getting a lot of support for Newfoundland health innovation. And, if I could make a plug for Bounce Health, I feel like, Patty, that health innovation, digital health specifically, could be a strength for Newfoundland and Labrador. We have quite a few good startup companies in this space, and I'm glad to see NLHS support us and support local procurement, and I hope we can grow the sector.
I appreciate your time, Josh. Good luck.
Thanks so much, Patty. Appreciate it as always.
My pleasure. Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye.
Josh Taylor with Tech Squad. He's founder and CEO. Look, if it works for the patient, it works for the clinic, because sometimes the tech is right there in front of us. And he makes a nice point that not everybody is in the world of texting. I am, but not everybody is. So if that frees up a phone line for someone who does not use their smartphone or does not text or does not want to use that type of application, maybe streamlines it. Let's take a break. When we come back, we're speaking with you. Don't go away. Welcome back to the show. Let's go to line number 1. Sean, you're on the air.
Good morning, Patty. How are you doing?
Doing okay. How about you?
Pretty good, thanks. This is a question that maybe you can direct to the pollsters. It's the first election I can remember, especially such an important one, but we've always had polls coming into the elections, or into the final days at least, and there's been not one poll whatsoever, and I think that it's needed this time. I mean, you have a complete split among some very well-known Newfoundlanders on the MOU, and that's a big one in itself. I mean, so polls would probably make a difference depending on the question that the pollsters ask, and of course the results. And the government is basing it on the MOU would help them to have a poll to say they're in the right direction, and the Tories are kind of trying to put it off. So I just want to like what your thoughts are.
Well, I also find it interesting that we haven't seen any polling. I know there's plenty of internal polling going on, but that could be skewed for obvious reasons.
Yes.
My initial thought on the polls is I don't even know what I do with it. You know, I take them with a grain of salt. Sometimes it's all about the methodology and the question and how it's framed and all those types of things. So I only put so much stock in the polls anyway, to be honest with you. How about you?
Well, me too. Obviously, I'm a former journalist, so I probably have a little more insight into some of these things than most. But when it comes to people whose lives are pretty busy, they're kind of thinking, I'm on the fence right now. I wish they'd ask a really good question and see what the general populace thinks about that question based on what's really important right now, like the healthcare system, or like the MOU, or like there's a lot of things like transportation. Very interesting that most of the province are not connected for a reasonable price when it comes to transportation, and I think we should be. And these are things that the polls can kind of help with, and then kind of spur on the three political parties, especially this time where the NDP have a full slate of candidates. I don't remember the last time that happened. So the polls, I think, would just tip someone's mind. Well, look, they're almost there. I think I'd like to give them a chance, or they're doing a good job on this and that and the other thing, and I'm more happy probably with the Liberals this time. Or let's just do a complete switch and go with the NDP. So I think it helps people, like you just said. You don't put full stock into it, but you certainly put a little bit into it, like you're interested in knowing where the public is going.
Are you talking about horse race polls or issue-specific polls? Because if you ask the Liberals, I'm not putting words in their mouth, they're hanging their hat in part, and in a large part, on the MOU. So are you talking horse race polls? Which party do you prefer? Or are you talking about specific polling, whether it be where the parties are in healthcare, MOU, or whatever?
Absolutely. I think polls today have to be about the issues that are most important to Newfoundlanders and Labradorians. That's what it's all about. I really don't care, like if there's a party not doing really well because they haven't really done much in the last 4 years or 8 years, and that's probably already out there. We already know that. But when it comes to issue specifics, so what's going on with this? The MOU is an obvious one. We have two totally different dichotomies between the Tories and the Liberals. I'm not even sure the NDP is. But I think people want to know that, and what are those questions, and what are people thinking about it? It wouldn't be so bad if you had those fabulous group of individuals on both sides of the MOU, like Newfoundlanders and Labradorians who have been down many roads in their lives, very many successes, and understand this. But neither side seems to have have an agreement. So it's amazing to me that we're at this stage of it where we're trying to get this deal done with Quebec. We'll just use that for an example. And yet we have so many well-accomplished people just totally on the opposite side of each other. It just blows my mind.
Yeah, I'm doing my level best to try to deal with the MOU, and there's a lot to it. There just is. We're talking about $500 billion worth of stuff over the next 50, 60 years. A million's a lot, a billion's a lot, a trillion? What? So, I spoke to some very specific concerns being offered by folks opposed to the MOU, and the pledges to, once again, see, as opposed to both sides kind of yelling over each other's head, which I don't think is getting us very far, and I think I'm more confused than I was when I first read the MOU. So we need Jennifer Williams back in here and very specific concerns brought forward and get some straight answers on the record, which we've done in the past. But now some of the opposition points are maybe a little finer than they were some while back, where they were really quite blunt. So I'll see what I can try to do and help try to figure this out for myself as much as anything else.
It reminds me, Patty, if you're going out looking at a nice car, and there's lots of people interested, and you got a price in your mind, and you're thinking, I'm going to go at it with this price, and the guy says, well, maybe, but I'm looking at the other guy too, and the decision's going to be made one way or the other. And if we don't make a decision, we're both going to be left out of it. And I got a feeling, I heard Mark Dobbin on there a little while ago, and I kind of lean towards what he's saying. There's so many other options out there in terms of renewable power and whatnot. How long is Quebec going to want to wait, and are they going to wait? And it does concern me. I think that's the one that really concerns me the most. If we got to wait for a little while, well, we waited for a long, long time already, so it's not a big deal. But when it comes to, like, could Quebec just step aside and just say, okay, we're done with this for now. They can wait. Like, here's some other options we have. That was kind of poignant in my mind. I'm thinking about, like, what you think on that point, because I've never heard that one before.
Oh, I've heard it repeatedly. And folks opposed to the MOU just dismiss it out of hand. I don't think it's as simple as that. You know, if it's not now, when? And the whole concept of waiting till 2041, I don't know why we would reject the thought that maybe, just maybe, they consider other options, because 17 years is a long time when they talk about their own provincial needs. Not that I care a whole lot about their needs in Quebec, but I think we have to factor that in as to what happens if, because if we don't, then we're just flying blind, right? Just say, okay, let's walk away. Okay, what are the implications of walking away? That's all. Just a conversation. And what do we think we've gained? What type of advantage if you wait till 2041? And they're still there to negotiate. So I don't know why I've been told that's too foolish to talk about. I don't understand why. But anyways, lots of people smarter than me out there.
Well, you know, Legault wants to get elected in Quebec, but it looks like he's going to have a hard old time doing it. And the main reason is because they think that one of the big reasons is because the Quebec public thinks that we're going to get a good deal, and the last thing Quebec wants is to give away any kind of good deal to us right now. So I think it is a concern. But then again, if you're going to bring in the CEO of Hydro, then I think we should bring in the other two opposing sides and have a little conference. It's the biggest thing that's happened in our history, and I think it's not a bad idea maybe to take 30 minutes or 45 minutes out of the morning. It'd be the most interesting thing to have a debate on it between them all, and let's just see where it all comes out, because there aren't any polls. So let's see what this biggest issue means to those people who are then in concert with Hydro. Wouldn't be a bad conversation.
Yeah, I mean, we still got to hash this out. There's no doubt about that. Sean, appreciate the time. Thanks for the call.
Thank you for your time today, Patty.
My pleasure. Bye-bye. All right, I'm going to try to stay on track here with the queue, the breaks. So Glenn's in the queue to talk Marine Atlantic, which was all the rage of a conversation. And, you know, the pledge on the campaign trail by the Prime Minister was to cut Marine Atlantic fares in half. That's been done, but only for vehicle traffic, not for commercial traffic. Then it's the whole concept of priority booking, what that means for Newfoundlanders and Labradorians getting on and off the island. Mary wants to talk about home care. There's a bus driver in the queue to talk about construction sites. I don't know what his or this person's perspective will be, but I think it's a fair question to ask why there's so much construction going on when the school year starts, as opposed to, over the summer. Don't go away. Welcome back to the show. Let's go to line number 4. Glenn, you're on the air.
How are you this morning, Paddy?
Doing great. How about you?
Oh, I'm not doing too bad, but it was just had a little. Just wanted to talk about Marine Atlantic, Paddy. Went on a little vacation, the first one in years. There on September the 8th, right? Took the ferry from Argentia up to North Sydney. Coming back on the 20th. Coming back on the 19th. The ferry broke down on the 17th. And they just keep telling you, Paddy, they wouldn't tell you, like, they'd update the information and say, oh yeah, she's going to sail the next day, whatever. And then you get another update saying, no, cancellation again. So I was 4 days, Marine Atlantic turned my vacation into just a horrible time, Paddy.
And so sorry, go ahead.
Stuck in North Sydney for 4 days. Because every day they say the ferry is run, I live on the Avalon, Paddy. I don't want to drive across the island in the night time with the moose and stuff. Anyhow, I was forced to take the Argentia ferry there on the 23rd. Forced to take the Port of Bass ferry on the 23rd, Paddy, running out of money. So I had 4 extra nights in North Sydney, paying for hotels, $600. And then it cost me 4 extra days to rent a car. That's another $320. Then a $250 hotel room in Deer Lake. And plus the gas. When, we only got one ferry running on that run, Paddy, and it wasn't the weather, it was mechanical issues, right?
So we're going to see weather-related issues. We're going to see potential mechanical issue. So is your number one concern the lack of communication, or what is it? I'm sorry? Or just the fact that you were delayed so long and it cost you so much money?
Delayed so long, and they string you along. Like, they send you an email saying, oh, yeah, the ferry's going to run the next day. Okay? and then 7 o'clock in the morning they send me out another notification saying it's cancelled again. So I'm hoping, Paddy, you know, like I spend 2 or 3 days with extra hotels because I don't want to drive across the island, right?
I totally get that.
Right? So what happened, in general, Marine Atlantic, it just busted, like it was like a Cinderella syndrome. They took the pumpkin away from me. You know? And it's just like it cost me an extra $1,000 that I never had, Paddy.
Listen, I understand that, you know. All travel is subject to potential interruption, but 4 days worth of interruption is a long time to be sitting in Cape Breton of all places.
Well, let me tell you, North Sydney is not a very exciting town.
Nope, it's not.
Right? If the ferry wasn't there, there'd be nothing there. But what I'm saying, Paddy, is that they string you along, and then they offer you a little old voucher to sail on the ferry again. Like, that's an insult, especially for Newfoundlanders. The first vacation in 10 years, Paddy, and we had a great time in Nova Scotia. But like I said, when I got back to North Sydney, everything just went all funny.
Yeah, I'm really sorry to hear that, especially when, you know, you're so excited to get on holidays for the first time in a decade, and this is the end result. What a drag.
Yeah, man, big drag. But like I said, the way they string the people along and their attitude about it all, you know, and no extra ferry. Like, one ferry for that run. Like, how do you promote tourism in Newfoundland like that?
People even ask me about why the Argentia run is so limited throughout the course of the year, which is a good question. I think it's maybe ice related as much as anything else. I'm not sure, but that's what first thing comes to mind. Glenn, anything else? Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Paddy, what were you saying?
I was just going to ask you if you needed or wanted to say anything else this morning.
Well, Paddy, I was just wondering, is there any other way to get compensated from Marine Atlantic instead of this voucher that they insult you with?
That's about it.
For $200, you know, and it cost me an extra $1,000, you know, because not on my fault, it was Marine Atlantic's problem.
Yeah, I've heard people jump through a lot of hoops to try to get additional compensation just to come up empty, and I don't know if there's a way to go beyond Marine Atlantic. Like, does the Canadian Transportation Agency deal with the ferry service, or is that just for the airlines? I don't know. I'll try to figure that out, and when I do...
I'm not sure, Paddy, how that is. Now, what I got to try to do now, Paddy, is try to get traveling to see if my credit card got travel insurance, you know.
That was the next thing I was going to say. Sometimes you have some luck with your credit card company.
I got to try that, but like I said, I just had a fella there the other day done a $1,000 little job on my house while I was gone away, like put a floor in for me, and now that $1,000 that I had for him, I had just to spend to get home, and now I'm out. So I'm out $2,000, Paddy, in the long run, really, because of Marine Atlantic, right?
So I just had a very quick check here. You can indeed, they tell you that this is a Canadian Transportation Agency. They say you have to deal with the ferry provider first, which you've done, and you can indeed file a complaint, even though I'm not so sure how far you'll get, with the Canadian Transportation Agency. So accessibility, dispute resolution, So that's an option. I'm not going to say that it's a good one, but it is one.
Yes, I understand. But, like, I just wanted to just put the word out there, Paddy, you know, like, I don't think I'll ever take the ferry again in my life.
Fair enough.
It's sad because we're in Newfoundland and we need to get off the island, but you can't rely on the ferry system that we have.
Yeah, I mean, nothing's going to be perfect in the world of travel, whether it be mechanical or weather or other potential interruptions, but I get where you're coming from, Glenn, and I'm sorry you had a bad experience.
Yeah, okay, Paddy, I just wanted to let you put it out there. Like, how come we don't have 2 ferries running there, Argentia? You know? That would be a sensible thing to do, right?
Fair enough. I guess that's a cost-related matter as well, but doesn't Marine Atlantic have some plans out there for adding a ferry to the fleet, or am I just dreaming that? Anyway...
not that I know nothing about whatever,
okay.
But Marine Atlantic is their own little thing. They're like Air Canada. They do what they want and they screw you around when they want to. At least Air Canada put you on another flight to get you to your destination where you want to go.
Yeah, they might.
1,000 miles away.
Yeah, I understand, Glenn. I appreciate your time, sir. Thanks for calling.
Take care, Paddy.
You're welcome.
Wanted to let people know.
My pleasure.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Yes, Drake. Let's go line number 5. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
I guess it's me.
I guess that is you.
Okay, Patty, I called in about this before. I'm a bus driver here in the city. I drive a minibus for 2 different schools, so I'm in every nook and cranny in central and east end of town. And the problem seems to be getting worse with construction companies leaving their debris all over the place. Not only that, I hope there's somebody from one of these construction companies or somebody from the city that can chime in and let us know why these companies go to a site and they tear it all up and then they leave it for a couple of weeks, and then they come back and fix it, and then they go and tear up 5 or 6 other sites and just go ahead and leave it for a long time. But one concern I had this morning, which prompted me to call you, I have a student living on a cul-de-sac, and I drove up the cul-de-sac today to this morning to pick him up, and all the sidewalks in front of his house, and it's been like this now for a couple of weeks, all the sidewalks and the driveways in front of his house are torn up. And he had to walk almost 3 house lengths up the road just to be able to board the bus because of all the holes and the orange sticks and sandbags. And this is dangerous, especially when you're dealing with students with special needs. And he was trying to maneuver his way to board the bus, and he couldn't walk down his own driveway. Not to mention the fact that because of all these driveways being, the mouth of the driveways being torn up, doing sidewalk work, the cars have to park in the cul-de-sac. So this young fella had to maneuver not only the construction, but then he had to maneuver between the vehicles to get to the bus. People are forced to park their cars outside their driveway. Down on Cornwall Avenue, I noticed, and this has been going on for quite some time, the sidewalks are all tore up down around Bennett Avenue area. And just trying to watch pedestrians get around the construction, and it's dangerous. And it's been like this for weeks. So my question to construction companies is why do you do this? Like, why do you tear it up, leave it, and then get around to it when you're finished? Not to mention the fact that people are beating up their cars in the potholes that they're leaving behind. And it was in a dark area over in the East End. It was in the nighttime, and they didn't have any signs up to say that lane was ending. And I wasn't in the bus at the time. I was in my car. But I had to, practically slam on the brakes because there was no signage. And the next day, in the daylight, I noticed that the sign was there, but it had tipped over, which is the case in a lot of places here in town. There's just these sticks and signs and everything. Nothing is being done at the time, but all this debris is all over the city. It's an eyesore. It's up in the grass, up in the trees. It's blown all over the place. And I mean, Danny Breen is always going on about the beauty of the city and cleaning up the city. But the worst, besides the election signs, the worst debris and garbage are left behind by the construction company. So why don't Danny Breen pick up the phone and call these places and say, look, clean up your mess. You're leaving it all behind. And, the city don't seem to care about the safety of its pedestrians. So that's my rant for today.
And I'll accept it. Just very quickly before I have to go, what kind of debris are we talking about?
Just these orange sandbags and the orange sticks and the signs and things like that. You go,
okay.
like here on Bay Bulls Road, there's all the signage and there's nothing going on, and those signs have been there forever. And when I go to the end of my street trying to make a right-hand turn, you got these monstrous construction signs, blocking your view. But the most of it is the debris, the orange things that are just slapped on the sidewalk, and people have to walk around them, and because they've blown over. I called actually one of the councillors. I know him personally, and I said, listen, can you have someone go down and take the signs right in front of Brother Rice? It had blown literally out in the road. And, I mean, it's a tight squeeze in a bus as it is. But when you got these construction signs and garbage, like 2 or 3 feet into the street, boy, that's a tight squeeze. And they don't seem to care. They just leave it and go on and come back and, whenever they get around to it. So I don't understand why they can't just come and do one job, complete it, and then move on to the next one? Why do they have to tear up the city?
That's a fair question. And when we're talking school zones, my ultimate question is, why is the work being done beginning in September as opposed to, when the kids aren't in school? I've got to get to the break, but I appreciate the call, bus driver.
Okay, can I just say one more thing?
Quickly.
I listen to VOCM in my car, in my house, in my bus. I listen to VOCM 100%. Can you please tell the music director to change up the music a bit? Because there's only so many times you can listen to Jesse's Girl and Tom Petty in a run of a day.
Well, they have heard your thoughts just then. I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, you're welcome. Bye-bye. We're just going to break in. Don't go away. Welcome back. Let's go to line number 6. Mary, you're on the air.
Yes, good morning, Patty.
Good morning.
I'm not comfortable about being on the air, but I'll give you a little gist of my very short story. I came home from Ontario last year after surviving breast cancer, and due to the fact that I had no family doctor, I couldn't get the pills that would have saved my life to save the cancer from spreading. So I went to the hospital over and over and over and over again with symptomatic and was told to go away. It was all in my head. And finally, a doctor believed me in November. And when they did a scan, my cancer was after metastasizing to my spine. I was told a couple of weeks ago by doctors that it was all according to a doctor last May who had said I wasn't a cancer survivor, that I had no radiation, that I had no cancer, that they treated me as a drug addict, that I was showing up at the hospital looking for my fix. That was the excuse. So right now I am terminally ill with cancer in my spine. I'm doing quality of life treatment. I don't want to even break down this morning. So they gave me 3 hours of home care work, which is not very much because I can't stoop over, I can't lift nothing. 3 hours of work. So the doctor wrote a letter saying she needs more. She's getting sicker. She's doing chemo. She needs more hours. So the worker just called me. She said, 1 hour. You'll get 1 hour. 2 hours in the morning for your worker, 2 hours in the evening. My worker just quit on me. She's not walking from Kitty Vitty Village to my house in the middle of the city for 2 hours work. So I have no worker.
Oh no.
And I have no help. What's 4 hours going to do me by the time that she gets in the morning, and I have a bucket, we'll call it a bucket full of pills along with chemo to take, that I have to, and Tasha prepares my breakfast and gets me dressed and gets me ready. Then she's supposed to have all that done in 3 hours, so they just cut her 3 hours back to 2, and 2 hours in the evening for personal care. I said, personal care by the time you get me in the shower and get me out, and my hair is a bit thick. It takes about an hour to dry my hair, so I'll have no housework done. I'm living in a house that's infested with mice. I had the end homelessness in my apartment the day before yesterday. I showed them traps everywhere. Newfoundland Labrador Housing says because I'm housed, there's nothing they could do for me, that I got to stay here and got to breathe in this stuff. Like my own care worker, I tell her, don't sweep my floor. You're going to have to mop it because you can't stir that up. My immune system, yours as a healthy person, should be 15, I'm understanding. Mine is 3. So my white cell count was 3 last Monday, probably lower now. So I just told him my own care worker just quit on me 2 hours in the morning, and you're sending someone in for 2 hours in the evening. Keep it all. I got nothing. Now I have no home care. I have no home care with cancer in my spine. I have no access for a wheelchair because my apartment is not accessible. So they told me because I'm housed, I can't get out of here. Because I'm housed, I got to live in an apartment that's rat-infested. And you know what? St. John's is the most rat-infested city in Atlantic Canada. Ate my coat, my brand-new coat that I had 1 week. Next week, my coat was down beyond my couch. fell down behind my couch, and when my own care worker I said to the manager, I said, I heard it behind my couch, and once you pulled my couch out, my coat, I'm not talking about little bits, it had my coat eaten, my brand new coat, it ate my coat. So I showed them the rat traps is down, you could hear them in the wall. My house is immaculate. They're coming from, they're obviously feeding somewhere else and nesting here. They run around your feet just the same that there's nobody here. Newfoundland Labrador Housing tells me I've got to go through landlords and tenants. I have, like I just told you, a terminal, I'm living quality of care, quality of life. So my treatments that I'm taking is to buy me time. I don't have time to fight landlords. I don't have time to fight Landlords and Tenants Act, which is going to take months. I need to get out of here. I need accessibility because I can't walk. They took me to the hospital last week, and the doctors used to have to turn me over with blankets. They'd turn me with the blankets, and the nurses would turn my legs because something showed up on my scan that showed up on my knees, on my ankles, on my feet. So I have no home care. I'm stuck in a house that's rat infested, and who the hell am I going to call? I'm tired of calling. I'm tired of asking. 1 hour. You have one. We decided to give you 1 hour, and I said, you had a letter from my oncologist, and my oncologist, no doubt, a number of oncologists told me to tell my story. I attempted to tell my story on your show last year, but I had a very short term to tell it. That they misdiagnosed me. They told me to go away and talk about it. It was all in my head. That's the new diagnosis for all women. You go there with a pain. You're having an anxiety attack. And every time I showed up at the hospital with chest pains and high blood pressure, they do an EKG and they say, oh, your arc Marcus is fine, go away, it's anxiety, what are you doing here again tonight? And it was always a mockery and kept 25 hours in severe pain. Do you know where the tumor was?
No.
Right behind my bra strap, we'll call it. So right where you would be having chest pain, right on my T7. So it took a doctor at St. Clair's to finally listen to me and do a CT scan in November, which found a mass on my spine. Now, that's quite a neglect. Now let's go a little bit further than that. Okay. We did radiation. And I was told by doctors, and I was told by some doctors, I said, I told it on open line, I never used your name. And I had one doctor say, I didn't give it if you did use my name or not. So I had oncologists, I had radiologists, I had emergency room doctors, I had doctors tell me, tell your story, there's too many women falling through the cracks.
Yeah, I mean, I hear these type of women-related interactions with the healthcare system far too often. So it's obviously something, there's something to it. Mary, I'm sorry to hear of your struggles, and I hope you can get it back.
Right now, I have nobody to look after me.
That's what I was about to say is I hope you get a backfill for your home care worker because obviously you need it. Is there anything else I can help you with or talk about this morning while we have you, Mary?
I think maybe you could reach out to the Minister of Health because I tried to reach him yesterday and there's no response.
We can certainly pass along your concern to Newfoundland Labrador Health Services. No problem there. Happy to do it.
And Newfoundland Labrador Housing tells me that I'm housed. So okay. Because I'm housed, I have to live in a place that's full of rats.
Yeah. So is it a Newfoundland Labrador housing unit that you live in?
I have a subsidy.
Okay. I will pass along your concerns on your behalf, Mary, and I wish you well. Take good care of yourself.
I need Mary. I need it done yesterday.
I understand, 100%.
You promise me you'll reach out to whoever you
promise.
can.
I promise.
Okay. Thank you very much.
You're welcome, Mary. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye.
Let's get a break, and I'm not sure who's next. Don't go away. Welcome back to the show. Let's go to line number 2. Say good morning to the Liberal candidate running out Mount Pearl Southlands. That's Sarah Furlong. Hi, Sarah. You're on the air.
Hi, Patty. How are you today?
I'm very well, thank you. How about you?
I'm doing great. I was listening to your show yesterday, and there was a lady by the name of Kimberly, I believe, who called in regarding a kinship, looking for supports through CRA. And I just wanted to let her know that I can certainly assist with that. If you don't mind passing along my information, as I am a foster parent, I did have to go through similar myself, so I might be able to help her and address some of those things and help her get set up with foster families and know.
Yeah, fair enough. And of course, these children would be her grandchildren. And I've tried to do something on Kimberly's behalf here as well. The real trick here, and this is infuriating, regardless of what level of government you're dealing with, if you apply for something which she is eligible for, and she's told that she doesn't have all the correct information submitted to, in this case, CRA, what's missing from that is what's the information that you need. They can't just say, well, you're denied because you don't have all the right information. Okay, then tell me what I need to do. It's just mind-boggling how that happens.
Right, and I heard that as well. So what I'd like to do is sit with her and find out what exactly it was that she submitted. And, you know, I've had to navigate that system myself. I've also had to help others navigate it. It could be something as simple as a birth certificate, you know. So I certainly can speak with her and find out what exactly it is that is needed based on what she's already provided. Okay,
we will pass your contact info off to Kimberly.
Perfect. And one other thing I wanted to mention to you is, you know, on behalf of myself and other candidates municipally and provincially, you know, a lot of our mail was stopped through Canada Post. And in my particular situation, we had our Canada postage paid for, and we were told to pick up our information at Canada Post. And one of my staff members went in yesterday to retrieve the information, and we were told we were unable to get it back. You know, so we talk about voters having access to all information, and as a new candidate, someone who's new to politics, as well as some other municipal candidates who are also running within the province, I think it's really important for voters to have access to all of the information on the table. And also, we want to be able to, you know, not use more money than is necessary. And a lot of us, especially those folks like myself who are starting from the ground up, we've already invested into all of those printouts, and we have receipts in hand through Canada Post. So it's just another expense now, and we would have to go through other ways to get the word out, whether it's reprinting or going through advertisement, which, you know, is expensive. So I wanted to let everyone know that it's something that we're working through. It's really difficult for all of us to hand deliver every single pamphlet to the homes, and I'm really hoping that Canada Post can help us out with this.
Yeah, I don't know what's going to become of Canada Post's willingness to help you out, but of course this is the union that has made this decision, not the corporation.
No, actually not. No, this is separate. So the union made the decision not to, you know, deliver the flyers. However, Canada Post are holding all of the mailings at their office. So this is a separate issue. This is a Canada Post issue.
So are you looking for a refund, or you're asking for them to follow through with their commitment to deliver?
I'm looking for a refund and to allow all of the information to be picked up if needed, so that we can get them to houses.
Fair enough.
Okay, so if there's anyone listening that can help with that, so far there's no resolution.
The issue with Canada Post is going to be a real tangle into the future. If they have a cumulative loss of $5 billion since 2018 and no end in sight, the trend is crystal clear for the kind of work that Canada Post is doing. And people say, we'll just blow it up and we'll let the private sector take over. Well, boy, the private sector doesn't go to an awful lot of Canada. So people kind of oversimplify a very complicated issue here. Sarah, anything else you want to talk about before we let you go?
just that it's really important for all of the voters to have all of the information in their hands, because early voting started today. So it's really important. What I'm going to do, I've been hearing at the doors also, it's really crucial for some greater programs for seniors. So if you don't mind, I'm going to forward you along a website and my email, my phone number, so you can pass along to Kimberly and also share with any seniors who require some more support.
Fair ball. Appreciate your time, Sarah. Good luck.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Have a great day.
You too. Bye-bye. Sarah Furlong, runner for the Liberals of Mount Pearl Southlands. Let's go to line number 4. Nick, you're on the air.
How you doing, Paddy?
Great today.
I just got a quick topic here. Is the infrastructure that's been lacking over the years, and I mean years. All the houses they're building. Basically, I know it don't sound like much compared to what some people have for issues, but Paradise, no swimming pool, kids got nowhere to go except for the Aqua Arena, only on one day. Now we're lacking a couple hockey rinks. Basically, we have kids in minor hockey that actually can't even play because there's no spots for them. And it's just getting worse for the kids. And, even the councillors in the area are talking about how we're lacking in infrastructure. I was just wondering maybe if some of the people that are running for the Liberals, or John Hogan, if they're planning on addressing these issues, because we pay some of the highest taxes around, and we've got next to nothing coming out of us for our kids and stuff, right?
Wouldn't the driving force to begin that conversation be at the municipal level, or are you suggesting that the provincial government should?
I'll tell you why not, Penny. I know what you're saying there about being municipal and stuff, but earlier the year, Dan Bobbitt and Paradise Council had an information session at the Paradise Arena, asking during budget time what do we need and stuff. And I mentioned to him about hockey rinks, telling him if there was 2 more, and they'd be full 24/7, just like what the minor hockey told him, and just like all the other organizations told him. And he told me that he sent paperwork into the Liberal government, which fell on deaf ears. And I had Paul Dinn look into it, and Paul said, he goes, Nick, indeed, there was no paperwork sent in. So basically from there, so he's now running for the Deaf Ear Party from what he's calling them. And basically, I'm just wondering if they're planning on doing anything about it. Like, he is one of the candidates for our area, him and Fred Hunton. Are they planning on trying to get some infrastructure put in place, as our area is building houses by the hundreds, but the infrastructure is not going with it?
Yeah, and I'd also wonder what the status is of the proposed multiplex out in Galway, because they were talking about curling rink and hockey rinks, the multi-purpose rooms and squash courts and all kinds of stuff. I don't know what happened to that. But I will stick with the fact that unless the town of Paradise puts forward a formal request of government insofar as cost sharing on infrastructure, it's highly unlikely either one of the political parties that may form government are going to identify the need for hockey rink in Paradise. I think that's where I'm coming from. When the Glacier was built.
Well, Dan Bobbitt, when he was mayor in Paradise, he said he already sent that in. And Paul Dinn went looking for the paperwork, and he couldn't find it. And when he couldn't find it, he said it couldn't have been sent in. So why would Dan Bobbitt say this? That's what I'm trying to figure out.
No idea.
And that's a good question going out to this candidate, Mr. Dan Bobbitt, if he's listening on open line right now. You say you sent paperwork into the Deaf Ear Party. You're now running for them, so maybe this is part of the flip-flop you did from the PCs to the Liberals that Terry Roberts was doing an investigative report on. So, I don't know. I don't know what's going on, but we're getting all kinds of wrong answers in Paradise, and all the parents are up in arms about everything because it's a sin to say the ones that are affected are the kids. Like, there should never be a kid not being able to play a game of hockey if you want to play a game. And, for us, I'll tell you what happened. Minor Hockey sent out an email to everybody stating that if your kid is on the wait list and can't play minor hockey because of, no more ice time, then you can ship your kids to Bell Island. That's what they said. And they were going to open it up so they could be released to play in Bell Island. Who wants to send their kids over to another community?
Well, that's fair enough. There's kids in St. John's that are practicing up the southern shore. I mean, it's wild. The lack of recreation infrastructure is really quite something. And I guess in this case, specifically hockey rinks.
And the only thing I'm looking at is that maybe, these governments got to get in place, whether it's PC, NDP, or Liberal, look at the kids. You want to keep kids off the streets. Basically, what you got to do is, put some stuff in place to keep them off the streets. keep them out of the places, you know, let them play hockey, you know, put a few rinks everywhere. I mean, up in Halifax, they have no issue with hockey rinks. Like, they've got them everywhere. And, you know, it's unfortunate that we got to fall behind the dime all the time, you know, trying to get things when we got to fight to get them. Anyways, that's just my point. I'm hoping these candidates can actually pull something out of a hat and, you know, put something out there to help, you know, all the communities out there, including St. John's, you know, get some more rinks. Because even Jody Wall down in Torbay area, he stated the same thing to a bunch of us down during Cleary trial camps, that they're short on hockey rinks as well, and they're hoping that, you know, that one of these governments can actually help fund this stuff.
Yeah, I mean, you got players that play for Northeast down Torbay. They're practicing at the DF Barnes Arena, formerly the Fielding Guards. We got kids practicing all over the place, far afield from where they actually live. It's something. You know, people say, well, there's bigger issues. But, you know, we're talking about communities like Paradise, for instance, or CBS, which has a beautiful new facility. These are a lot of very young families. Recreational infrastructure is part of having a young family. So, Nick, exactly. I appreciate the time and the call this morning. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Paddy.
You're welcome. Bye-bye. All right, there you go. Let's get a break in. When we come back, we're talking school buses. Don't go away. Welcome back to the show. Let's go. Line number 6. Tom, you're on the air.
Good morning, Paddy. How are you this morning?
Doing very well, thank you, Tom. How about you?
I'm great, thanks. Just a real quick point before I get to my school bus issue here is that this is a really, really, really busy time for us at the Hub right now with the election because of our printing business here, and one of my employees was sick, and I want to do a big shout out to Walter Harding, who's been coming in every morning at 6 o'clock to fill in for this guy, and just, you know, there's not enough thanks that we could throw out for him because we were in a real bind. I remember there was a time a few months ago when Walter came in, he wanted to learn how to use our cutter, and we showed him, and now, man, it's a blessing. So thank you to Walter, and really, really appreciate it. The main reason for my call this morning, again, was the school bus issue. Since school has started, I have met with the RNC on 5 occasions to report to them people passing school buses with lights flashing. I have a dash cam, which I recorded, and I showed them and provided to them descriptions of the vehicle and the time and the license number and all of the details. Of those 5 occasions, only 1 ticket was issued. The reason the other 4 weren't issued was because in 2 occasions, the person I identified was not the registered owner of the vehicle. The other 2 occasions, I couldn't identify the person who was driving the vehicle. Now, I'm not blaming the RNC for this, but clearly we have a problem here. That, for example, you could take your wife's vehicle and do whatever you want to do. Your wife could take your vehicle and do whatever you want to do, and you're not going to be held accountable when it comes to passing school buses. So we need a law change here. I'm a registered gun owner. I have a rifle. It's properly secured. I'm allowed to have it. If somebody comes into my home and takes it, I'm charged. Yet I can let somebody take my vehicle and zoom past these school buses and nothing is done. And it's bloody frustrating that this is allowed to happen.
It needn't be the case either, because let's just think about the speed cameras. We're told that it's your car, it's your problem, and that's the way it should be. So if my son takes my car, gets caught speeding on a speed camera, then either it's between me and him as to who pays the fine, because I know he had the car on September 24th and he got nicked somewhere I was not, then we work it out in-house. So same thing with the passing the school bus. It's too important to try to get people to slow down, and the fine should always be maxed out at $1,500 if someone does it. I saw it the other day on Newfoundland Drive. It was unbelievable. For starters, there's no room to pass a stood still school bus on Newfoundland Drive without being in oncoming traffic, period. So here we are at a busy day at the end of the school day, and this moron driving a huge truck, this bus is stopped, the stop sign is out, the lights are flashing, and he could not wait that 30 seconds for those couple of kids to get off the bus. It was wild.
Yeah, I know. I had an issue, 2 cases on Pennywell Road near Chesses. There's a T section there where the bus parks in in what I call the T section with the ass end of the bus sticking out. People behind me honking their horns, driving around me on both sides of my car, all of it on the dash cam, provided to the police. And again, I can't identify the driver, so no ticket is issued. So again, I'm not blaming the RNC here, but boy, we need a rule or a law change here or something done to prevent this, because somebody hits one of my kids, like I'm dropping off 3 kids every morning. Somebody stops and hurts one of them kids, man, I'm going to be in. Ryan Callahan is going to be reporting on my child because I'm going to be uncontrollable, because it's bloody ridiculous what's happening out there. And very little being done about it.
In addition to that,
I don't want to hold you anymore this morning, Paddy, because I know a lot of people want to call in.
No problem.
I appreciate you taking my call.
I'd be out of my mind if one of my children got hit, but also just think about it as a motorist. Do you want that on your conscience for the rest of your life, that you hit, struck, hurt, or killed a child because you were too big a panic to get to Tim Hortons? Like, come on. People know better.
I agree with you, man. I totally agree.
Thanks, Tom.
Great. Thank you. Have a good day.
You too. Bye-bye. Let's keep rolling. Go to line number 5. Say good morning to the NDP candidate running out in Carbonear, Trinity Bay, Bade Verde. Trinity Bade Verde. That's Kathleen Burt. Hi, Kathleen. You're on the air.
Good morning, Patty. How are you doing?
I'm doing fine, thank you. How about you?
I'm doing very well. I just thought I'd take the opportunity that your station has so nicely offered candidates to introduce themselves, and so you already introduced me as the NDP candidate out in Carbonear, Trinity Bay de Verde, and I'd just like to tell people why I'm running in this election, if I may.
Sure, go ahead.
I have 3 reasons. The first is for the people. I've lived in this district 8 years, and then 6 years before that. And so I've had lots of opportunity to listen to people and hear their concerns. And one is, of course, health care. There's lots of people who can't find family doctors or have to wait long times for treatments or services. And I know there's a better way to provide health care than what's being done. And you listen to people, workers talking about ruining their bodies, working in unsafe conditions, making repetitive motions that have their muscles screaming in pain, being treated like they're replaceable, easily replaceable, when really they do have skills and talents and should be treated a little bit better. So I know there's a better way to treat workers. And I've heard people talk to me, especially lately in the last 2-3 years. People talk about how hard it is now to make, to pay the bills, to make the ends meet. Lots of people have told me they're like one unexpected expense away from debt. I'm drowning in debt, in fact. And so I know there's a better way to organize our economic system.
Before we move on, insofar as what people refer to as a toxic workplace and people not being respected and repetitive movement and that type of stuff, as a politician, what role does the politician play? Because these operational things, that's the boots on the ground, the mid-level manager, the supervisor, someone at NL Health Services versus the minister. So what do you think a politician can do insofar as that workplace being as respectful as it should be?
Well, I think it requires, I think actually politicians can do something about it. I think it's a different priority on our economic system. We have an economic system now that focuses on exploiting workers, and I think we could have a different economic system that focuses on recognizing the talents and importance of the workers and keeping them happy, and having a different priority to our whole economic system. Like right now, we've got an economic system that exploits workers. So, yeah, definitely, I think politicians can have an effect on that.
Yeah, I wasn't suggesting that they cannot have an impact on it, but cultural things happen in the workplace. There can indeed be, lead by example and directives being set forward by the minister or other members of the governing party. That's all I was getting at is, we really have to hold to account those who are creating these terrible environments, because that's where it happens. We can talk big game inside the legislature, but when push comes to shove, we have to ensure those in positions of authority, middle-level managers, supervisors, and otherwise, you treat people with respect, or you will no longer be the mid-level manager or supervisor.
You're absolutely right, Patty. That's a very good point to make. And there's lots of things provincial politicians can do to make the work life of workers in this province far healthier and far safer that they're not doing.
Fair enough.
Of course, I've heard lately a lot of people talking about the devastation of losing their homes to the wildfire. I heard very impassioned, fire descriptions from firefighters of what they had to do during that Kingston wildfire. And I know there's a better way to plan for the climate changes that are coming. Never mind coming, already here. And when I listen to my grandchildren and my children, and they have hopes and dreams for themselves, and they want to be safe, and they want to be able to reach their full potential. And you know what? I think we can do, as adults who love them, we can do better at providing a kind, safe, and more just world so that they can grow to their full potential.
When I made mention of the rebuild and replant in the areas devastated out in CBN, I made a very specific mention of the type of trees, just to be told that I'm too foolish to listen to. Look, if we rebuild and replant the most highly flammable dry conifers, as opposed to something like an aspen tree, which there's plenty of them in this province, and the high moisture content and the high canopy and everything that goes with it, I don't know why we don't start with just being a little bit more smart and a bit more fire resistant. Trees will burn, but they all burn at different rates and different intensities. So I think stuff like that needs to be considered and discussed.
Yeah, there is all kinds of things that could be done. And this is an area where we could really be listening to the Aboriginal people. They know a lot of this stuff, right? We could actually be listening to them at how to protect our world far, far better than we do now. And actually taking that into account, because I don't know, I haven't seen in the last 8 years anyway, really anything that the governments have been doing to counter the climate changes that are coming.
Not very much, that's for sure. Kathleen, anything else before I have to get to a break?
Yeah, well, that was only the first. That was only my first reason. Well, so anyway, with all that, I really do think the NDP has some very practical answers, short-term answers, and some long-term solutions to address some of these things. The second reason... How about this, Kathleen?
How about this? Because I'm super late for the break, you're more than welcome to join us again early next week, and we go through points 2 and 3, and I won't interrupt. How's that?
Oh, no, that's okay.
Thank you, Kathleen. Good luck.
You have a great day.
You too. Bye-bye. Kathleen Burt, running for the NDP out in Carbonear, Trinity Bay de Verde. Let's take a break. Don't go away. Welcome back. Let's go to line number 1 and take him to Mike Brown. He's been acclaimed to be the mayor of Grand Falls, Windsor. Joins us on the line. Good morning. I guess soon to be Mayor Brown.
Good morning, Paddy.
Good morning to you.
Good
Welcome.
to be on your program, finally.
Happy to have you on.
So I'm calling with respect to the Premier's office here in Grand Falls, Windsor, and the comments made by the PC leader, Mr. Wakeham, at a press conference earlier this week. And a little bit surprised and taken back, I guess, that initially the first thing he said was he's going to close down the office. That office, Paddy, has been a valuable asset to the people of Grand Falls, Windsor, and everybody in central Newfoundland over the last 4 years. And for our purposes, we'd like to see it remain open. I mean, I've known numerous residents of Grand Falls, Windsor who have used that office over the last 4 years and used it successfully. And for Mr. Wakeham to be coming out and saying that's the first thing he's going to do is close that office and eliminate 2 jobs here in Grand Falls, Windsor, we're a bit taken back by that and really disappointed by the comments.
So, Mike, give us an example of how it's been beneficial.
Well, for example, I know different not-for-profit organizations who had trouble receiving funding, and through the provincial government, and used that office and were successful in receiving funding when they contacted the local office here in Grand Falls, Windsor. That made a difference with respect to their funding application, and once they called that office, the application was successful, and the not-for-profit groups got the funding.
Just for the purpose of conversation, and this is the pushback that I've already heard about the need to keep it open, is could these things not still have been accomplished or achieved if dealing with the 8th floor of the Confederation building in St. John's versus the office in Central?
Well, I think these people I'm referring to, the not-for-profit groups I'm referring to, had applied through the 8th floor of the legislature, and we're basically turned down. And when the 2 employees of the office here in Grand Falls, Windsor went to bat for those groups, they turned it around and the money was received. So it was an extra push. The Premier's office were able to give those groups an extra push to help attain their funding. And in many cases, Paddy, they were successful in going that route.
Yeah, I mean, insofar as whether or not it's working as intended, like I said off the top of the show, I can't speak to that with any authority because I don't live in Central. So I have no idea if it's been beneficial or not. And, for any politician that pledges to keep it open, and curiously, Premier Hogan didn't commit to maintaining it. He called it invaluable, but stopped short of saying, I'm going to continue with the satellite office in Central. And even for Mr. Wakeham or anybody else, is if you don't think it's effective, why not? If you don't think it's worth the money, why not? Give us some examples of where you think it's falling short, as opposed to just the blanket statements of I'll keep it open or I'll close it. Because I think we all deserve a little bit more, which would also demonstrate a better understanding of the issue as opposed to simply, putting a wet finger in the air to see which way the wind's blowing.
No, couldn't agree with you more, Paddy. And I intend to do that. I tend to do a little bit of research and see how many calls that office gets. And I would suspect there's numerous calls every week on that office. Like I know people myself who call that office. And yeah, that's right. And it would be much better. Why would it be closed? Because it's not being used? We disagree with that here in Grand Falls, Windsor. The office is being used. And not only in Grand Falls, Windsor, I guess, and all of Central Newfoundland.
Yeah, and just for clarification, my comment about more detailed rationale is for every policy, for every issue, not just this one particular one, because that's where I think we all, as the electorate, also are partly to blame because we get a bit lazy, right? If someone says, I'm going to cut your taxes, everyone says, yay. But no one says, okay, what about the money that's lost revenue? Are we just going to borrow it? Are we just going to pump it onto the debt, or what? Because there's more to all these things than just trying to look for that one bit of endorphins to fly wild so that I might get your ex.
No, exactly, Paddy. And when the election's over and whichever government is elected, we as the town council here in Grand Falls, Windsor will impress on the new premier or the current premier to leave that office open. It's definitely beneficial. I mean, the town of Grand Falls, Windsor, our management staff have used that office on several occasions to get their message to the premier or to seek help with respect to funding applications. So the benefits are wide and far, in my opinion, over the last 4 years. And that office was definitely an asset to the people of Grand Falls, Windsor, and Central Newfoundland. Yeah, well, Mayor King down in Botwood says the same thing. So when we have our next opportunity to speak with Mr. Wakeham, this can be part of the broader conversation because obviously there's a ton to discuss. I appreciate the time. Congratulations on your acclamation and good luck in the chair. Okay, thank you, Paddy, and look forward to talking to you again soon. Me too. Bye-bye. Take care. Bye-bye. Welcome. Bye-bye. It's Mike Brown, acclaimed to be the next mayor out in Grand Falls, Windsor. Let's get a break in for the news. When we come back, we're speaking with you. So a few candidates in the queue. Harry wants to talk about the MOU, Provincial Disability Tax Credit, Bay to North, whatever you want to talk about. Don't go away.
You're listening to a rebroadcast of VOCM Open Line. Have your say by calling 709-273-5211 or 1-888-590-8626 and listen live weekday mornings at 9 a.m.
Welcome back to the show. I did say Brian King was the mayor of Botwood. I know better. He was the mayor of Bishops Falls for some 8 years, so I want to correct my mistake. Let's go to line number 2. Say good morning to Dave Hillier, running for position on council, Grand Falls, Windsor. And good morning, Dave. You're on the air.
Hi, Patty. Thanks for having me.
No problem at all.
I just wanted to call and kind of introduce myself to folks and kind of just talk about me a little bit and why I should be on council and kind of my policy priorities. So first off, I've got a degree in economics, and I've got about 20 years working in policy and service in provincial government. And in my role in that capacity, I always live by a motto that no matter who you are, wrong number, whatever, you're always better off for having talked to Dave Hillier. And that can be pointed in the right direction. You know, sometimes you have to say no to people, but you can listen and say no with empathy. And that's kind of the attitude I want to bring to council. I also serve on the board of directors of NAPE, and in that role, I believe in healthy debate, and that has made our union strong. And I believe that healthy debate makes the town stronger. And currently with our town council, there hasn't been a lot of debate. In fact, it's almost been consistently unanimous agreement on almost all topics. Now, that doesn't mean, you should be argumentative and angry all the time, but debate is healthy, and that's how you get the best solutions to your problems. I've also served for the last 7 years as the vice president of the Newfoundland and Labrador Federation of School Councils, bringing the issues of parents forward to government, to the school district, and now the Department of Education. And in that role, I've always advocated for increased school food programs and for increased mental health resources. Because people talk about crime and our problems with crime, and the most cost-effective way to fight crime in our province is to make sure that every kid has a full belly and they have access to mental health resources. And that way we can prevent crime, prevent them going down a dark path before they get there.
Yeah, and more and easier access to help if and when you want help to kick whatever habit, whatever addiction that you have. Just a very quick thought for me, and this is not me supporting one candidate or another, but it is music to my ears. If a politician or a hopeful politician is willing to say, sometimes you're going to hear no. Because we don't hear that a lot. What we get is yes or silence. Not a lot of no's.
Yeah, and Patty, I just want to talk about one more thing for my resume is, Grand Falls, Windsor, we have a historic Labor Day parade, and I'm also the president of the District Labor Council. And after COVID, like many things, it was on hard times. And I'm really proud to say in the last couple of years, we got our historic Labor Day parade. We had our 107th Labor Day parade this year. It was fantastic. And I'm proud to be part of that team that brought that back to life. And I just kind of talk about my priorities for a second.
Sure.
Is, infrastructure. We got people in Grand Falls, Windsor. We are paying the highest mill rate in the province that don't have clean water. We got people with dirty water in town. And current council is talking about spending $90 or $100 million on a new sportsplex. Not that we can probably do need it, but we got to make a strong business case for it, and we got to get the basics right first. And it's really hard for me to justify spending all this money when we got people in the heart of town that don't have clean water. I also think, one of the things I'm hearing when I'm knocking on doors is people concerned about the cost of living. I know that this would entail spending money, but not on the same scale, is looking at public transit or a bus service. That would allow people to live further away from our commercial areas where we've got more access to land and easier to build. It would allow seniors to stay in their homes longer because they wouldn't have the expense of having a car. And it will allow newcomers in our community, which many of them are healthcare workers or families who may not have their license or access to a car, to engage with our community. And if they can engage with our community, they'll want to stay.
How would public transportation work in a community like yours? Because, if you live in town, public transportation, you have Metro bus in your mind. Are we talking about smaller buses, 15-passenger vans? What would you articulate as the right size, right fit?
Well, I generally envisioning a bus, like a couple of Metro bus style buses, but I'm a huge believer in data and analytics and building a business case. And that's what I would do first, is explore, collect the data, explore to build the business case and find out what works. I'm really big on adapting best practices and bringing that into play. And that's how I want to approach everything with council. Because I believe in my day-to-day life, I'm a big adapter of technology and, again, use data to inform my decisions. And if we don't know what we got, we don't know what we're doing, how can we make the best choices? And so that's what I would do, is get a pilot project on to understand our specific needs. But generally, that's kind of where I'm thinking, is a 2 or 3 bus service. Fortunately, Grand Falls, Windsor is kind of set up in a couple of loops. So it'd be very easy for bus service to follow the loops and hit all the major neighborhoods, we'll say. But, it's, for me, it is, what I think distinguishes me from other candidates, Patty, is that my focus on that data and transparency and using that to solve our problems. And there's a lot of people singing the same song, but we got to move to the future. And I am the candidate that I think that can help move our town to the future and find real cost savings in our operations in order to keep our taxes low.
Fair enough. Anything else you want to add this morning, Dave?
No, I just want to say thank you for your time. Again, my name is David Hilliard. There's a whole bunch of Davids running in Grand Falls, Windsor, and I sincerely appreciate your time.
I appreciate yours. Good luck out there.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye-bye. I just keep rolling here. We'll go to line number 7. Say good morning to Rick Farrell with Unifor Local 20. And good morning, Rick. You're on the air.
Yes, good morning, Patty. Thanks for taking my call.
No problem, Rick. I'm going to have to put you on hold, get a clear line here. Let's see. Let's now go to line number 3. Say good morning to Madonna Stewart Sharp, running for the mayor down in Portugal Cove, St. Phillips. Madonna, you're on the air.
Thank you, Patty, for having me on this morning.
Happy to do it.
Thank you. Patty, I just wanted to let the people of Portugal Cove, St. Phillips know that I am running for mayor, in case those who are not tuning into social media. Just a bit about myself. I have a business degree and an education degree. And in my past career, I've been in management roles, leadership roles, and I was able to get people to collaborate together for one vision. And I believe I could do that with our town. The issues in our town from knocking on doors is people want a better value for their taxes. And so that comes in water and sewer, our roads, affordable housing, recreation facilities, infrastructure, and the list goes on like that in our community.
Let's dig into a couple of specifics. You pick one.
Water and sewer, besides taxes, I'm all for efficiency in our taxes. And when I started 8 years ago, we had a debt of probably approximately 25 million, and that is now knocked down to 5 million. So I'd like to continue on with that, but still provide the services and expand on the services that we're doing now. So water and sewer, road safety is a big thing for me. I know with the wildfires, sorry, I'm going to lose my voice here, with the wildfires that's been happening around our province, I think having water going into our communities and our neighborhoods is very important. So that will be number one for me, is the infrastructure. Currently, we are in collaboration with the province. I'm very happy to say that we have a good working relationship. We had our main roads all paved. We had another section of sidewalk done from Brookside, our school, up to the town hall. So we'll continue to build on that. And we also had our health clinic bought back. So that's another plus for our community there in that. So that's, they are some of the major things. Now I will continue to advocate for our rural character. Our draft municipal plan is on the go now, and I'll make sure that our rural character stays. But also we also do need development, and whether that is like in-law suites, places where grandparents can age on their own properties, and just work with our new plan so that can happen also, because I know that's something that I would like to do, is to live in my own community as I age.
Yeah, I mean, just to pick up on one that you put forward here is speed in the community. I have a soft spot for the Cove. And, I mean, if you talk about, say, when you get past Close and Kennels and get all the way down to the ferry, the roads are twisting and up and down the hill, and yet people are going like a bat out of hell. There's no sidewalk, nowhere for anyone to be, but yet people cannot resist. And then you get past there and get past the church and you start getting into the St. Philip's area. Then you got like Beachy Cove, Elementary, and the big downhill, uphill swoop there. Man, I was down there, let's say a couple of weeks ago, and someone passed me as I was going down the hill, and you're not allowed to pass. I was probably going 60, and that person had to be going 100, every single bit of it. And there's nowhere to go. Like, absolutely nowhere to go. There's nowhere for anyone to walk safely if people are driving at that breakneck pace.
Yeah, you're totally correct, Patty. Those kind of instances after happening to myself also. It's just, actually, I was ran off the road one day while I was there paddle biking by young kids. You know, they rolled down their windows and they shouted at me and put me off the road at a freak, right? Come up behind me. I'm all about cameras. I served on the Northeast Avalon Joint Committee for almost 8 years. And we have a good working relationship, and we all have the same issues with speeding. And, you know, working with them and collaborating with them, I think we're all for cameras. Set up the cameras. If you're doing nothing wrong, you should have no fear of having cameras.
No, absolutely right. Absolutely not. I think I'm in the minority, but I'm happy enough to have the speed cameras installed. If it slows people down, then that's a victory for everybody who's on the roads, whether they be walking or scooting or biking or driving your vehicle. Madonna, I wish you good luck down there. Thanks for your time.
You're welcome. Have a good day.
You too. Bye-bye. Madonna Stewart-Sharp, running for the mayor, Portugal Cove, St. Philip's. Let's take a break. Don't go away. Oh, welcome back. Let's try again on line number 7 to say good morning to Rick Farrell with Unifor Local 20. And good morning, Rick. You're on the air.
Good morning, Patty. Thanks for taking my call.
Pleasure.
On a lighter note, first, the magic number for the Blue Jays is 4, and I just seen 4 Blue Jays land on my lawn here in Bullboy a few minutes ago.
Well, hopefully that's a sign, and maybe they can get more than 4 hits tonight.
Yeah, on 4 runs.
Yeah, it'd be nice.
But on a more serious note, the recent revelation that the topsides work for the Beta Nord project will not be done here in Newfoundland or even in Canada is an amazing statement going forward.
It's a lot. Bob Fiander, of course, at Trades NL was on the program early this week. I think it was early this week. Absolutely furious with it, and understandably so. We've got somewhere in the neighborhood of, well, let's just pick a round number, 10,000 tradespeople out of work right this moment in time, and that would have been significant work.
Oh, no doubt, you know, and we have done these top modules work in Newfoundland over the last 30 years with these solar projects, starting with the Hibernia project, Terra Nova and the Sea Rose, and now we're not going to be able to have any of this work done in the province. Pretty unacceptable, I would say, Patty.
Yeah, you know, it'd be interesting to know from the leaders now, because I assume we're going to get a chance to speak with all three, is how they hear those words coming from Equinor themselves. Because we could always opine about what might or might not be done here, what we can and cannot do. But now Equinor has told us exactly what the plan is if they go ahead and make a final investment decision and proceed with the project. Is what do they all think? Is, you know, and we can't have vague answers here. Does it mean we will not negotiate a benefits agreement if there is not additional work to be done here on shore? Or are they just going to say, well, that's it, we'll just have to try to maximize the royalties, what have you? Because you need a real firm answer to this one.
Definitely, you look back to the Atlantic Accord, originated in the 1980s. It was for jobs for Newfoundland and Labradorians and the royalties. And since then, over the last number of projects, the jobs seem to be waning away considerably.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the summary of the Atlantic Accord is that the projects we need to be the primary beneficiary, and I would suggest that does include jobs. Of course it does. And, you know, we also at the same time maybe have to hesitate or to stop making comparisons between this province and Norway, because they're two entirely different things. But this is a troubling announcement, no question.
Yes, it affects the whole province. I'm just speaking primarily for Unifor Local 20 here in the Marystown area that takes the whole Bjorn Peninsula in right up to Goobies, and we've had a lot of success with works. We want the work done in Newfoundland, A, period, and B, if we can benefit here regionally, it will be fantastic. So we hope that the leaders going forward now are going to come out and state their positions very clearly.
Rick, how many members do you have at Unifor Local 20?
Well, unfortunately, Paddy, now it has been dwindling down over the years through retirements and attrition and loss of seniority. We have approximately about 80 workers in our union now.
And how many of those would be working today versus looking for work?
Well, the younger group, say people under the age of 50, they're probably half of them are out working right now, but they'd come home immediately. And this area up here on the Bjorn Peninsula, Marystown is the hub of the Bjorn Peninsula. No work, both Marystown, Cowheads facility, and then the New Dock shipyard. Historically, Paul bought that a number of years ago, 7 years ago, and we've yet to see anything happening in the aquaculture industry either.
Yeah, Marbase. I have no earthly idea what's going on there, because at the same time where we're talking about potential expansion and more investment into aquaculture and the smolt farm and the things that Marbase was supposed to provide, I have no earthly idea what the stall is there. I suppose I can quite simply just ask Paul what the hold up is, but that could indeed be a little shot in the economic arm down in Marystown.
Yes, well, Maribase now is called Amara Seafood, so they've changed their name last year or so. And yes, Paddy, that's a big concern. We were promised 200 jobs from the get-go 7 years ago, and really nothing has come to fruition.
Yeah, we can see if we can't get some sort of a fiscal update from Paul ASAP. Rick, anything else while we have you?
No, thank you very much for listening to me. I know I sound like a broken record calling in with the lack of work here for our members and for the workers in general in the province, but I will keep on calling back and make some noise and get the people to listen.
And I appreciate your time. Thanks, Rick.
You're welcome.
Take care. Bye-bye. That's Rick Farrell with Unifor Local 20. Before we get to the news, let's go to line number 1. Michael, you're on the air.
Yes, good morning. How are you?
Great today. How about you?
Not bad. I just wanted to call and let people know I just got a phone call and I say it's a scam. They're saying they're from CRTC, saying they're going to cut your cell phones. So I just want to let people know if they get the same call. It seems to be a scam because one of them big old long numbers, 1 plus minus blah, 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 whatever.
Yeah, well,
so I'd say is
number one, the CRTC doesn't cut people's personal cell phone coverage or cell phone use. That's not what the CRTC does at all. So there's a dead giveaway that's a scam.
Okay. But now I just want to let people know what's going around.
Yeah, and I'm glad you did. Thanks, Michael.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. In addition to that, like you did mention the fact that, it was one of those really long numbers. That used to be the dead giveaway, right? Most everyone has call display, so you look at your phone and say, that's a scam, because it's got this extensive long number, and or some of the call displays that say it originates from Slovenia or something, and you're pretty sure that that's not something that's legitimate. The problem there is that these nuisances have found out a way to apply what they call spoofing. So what was once the dead giveaway long number can now be absolutely easily replaced with a 709-726 number, which you're pretty sure is coming from the east end of town. But on the other end of it is a scammer calling from who knows where. So don't be bamboozled simply because the number looks local, because that's not the giveaway that it once was. So yeah, that happens all the time. And like for my landline, I don't know if I've gotten anything but a pollster or a scam artist in years. I don't even know why I have it, to be honest with you. Let's check in on the Twitter box. We are VOCM Open Line. You know what to do. You can follow us there. Email address is openline@vocm.com. Let's get to the break just a little bit early. Appreciate the patience of those in the queue. And that includes Harry to talk about the MOU. But coming up right after the news is one of the candidates running in Ward 4 to talk about public safety. That's Trini Bragg. Wilf wants to talk about the ballots. Jeff's there to talk about the provincial disability tax credit. And then we're speaking with you. Don't go away.
The Tim Powers Show. Join the conversation weekday afternoons at 4 p.m. on your VOCM.
Welcome back to the show. Let's go to line number 5. Jeff, you're on the air.
Hey, Patty, how are you doing?
Okay, how about you?
Not too bad, thanks. Enjoying a beautiful morning up here.
Good.
Patty, I was just wondering if you might happen to know, because I only just discovered last month myself that I'm now receiving the provincial disability benefit.
Okay.
But I wasn't sure because from one day when I checked my account on like the 19th or something, and the following Monday, I think it was like the 25th, and checking for wishful thinking more than anything, I had discovered I had a lot of more money in my account than I expected. So is there a specific date that you're aware of that each month that they come out?
I think it's on the 25th, I believe. I'll have to check that payment schedule, but that for some reason that date pops into my mind.
Okay, cool. And in the process of trying to find things out, I'm in the process too of applying for the National Disability Tax Credit or whatever it is.
Well, that's the starting point. Just so everyone knows, unless you have the disability tax credit, then you're not eligible for any of the coverage plans, whether it be the contribution to your registered disability savings plan and or the provincial disability credit itself. So first things first, you have to apply for the tax credit.
Yeah, and that's why I was kind of surprised because I hadn't, to my knowledge at least, registered with officially. But I just and I was hesitant to try because I heard you had to get like two different signatures from your doctor and another health professional or something. But apparently that's not the case. I called my go-to, which is at 1-800-O-Canada. And you can find almost anything out with regards to programs like that. And part A of the form is filled out by myself or like the individual, and part B you just need filled out by your all it says is like your healthcare provider or medical practitioner.
Yeah, it depends what your disability is, but generally speaking, that's right. Like a nurse practitioner or your doctor, they suffice for all the disabilities that are included inside that tax credit. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. All right, John. Well, that's all. That's all for me.
Appreciate your time, Jeff. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay, let's go say good morning to Trini Bragg, running in Ward 4 here in town. Hi, Trini. You're on the air.
Hi, Patty. How are you this morning?
Very well. How about you?
I'm running primarily on anything pumpkin spiced, so I'm feeling very fallish, but I'm also feeling fabulous. Thank you.
Terrific. What's on your mind this morning? Where are we going?
I wanted to talk to you, Patty, this morning. We talked last week. You gave me the opportunity, which I was very appreciative of, to introduce myself to your listeners as the candidate for St. John City Councillor for Ward 4. I live in Ward 4. We briefly talked about some of the issues that I was hearing about. One of those was public safety, and I've been giving a lot of thought to the conversation that we had. I've been out walking the trails, talking to people in Ward 4. Some of the solution-based approaches we can take now, some of which are cameras on the trails. We might have to look at patrolling them, targeted lighting in specific areas. Certainly, I think something that people can do right now to be proactive about what's happening in the city is if you're out and about and you see things that shouldn't be happening, see things that are suspicious, report them. Self-reporting is huge. It's something that everyone can do. These are our trails as well. We clean them as our own. We're out walking them. If you see stuff, get into self-reporting, report it. But also as well, over the last week, I currently sit on the board of directors for Irish Kirby House. I'm a 19-year volunteer with the Eating Disorder Foundation of Newfoundland and Labrador. I spent 14 years with SPCA and developed and implemented recreational programs at the Leonard Miller Center and the Hoyles Escazoni home. This gives you an invaluable opportunity, not just to get into things and stick with it, but to talk to a wide demographic of people across the city to hear really what they feel the issues are. And I think undoubtedly one of the biggest issues that we're facing now in the city is that people feel as though their personal safety is being challenged. They're legitimately concerned about their personal safety. We're more aware than ever of our surroundings and where we parked. But I think people are experiencing a lot of panhandlers are becoming more aggressive. You're being approached in parking lots. You're at a stoplight, your window's being knocked on. These are scary and alarming encounters. I've had numerous of them myself. You don't realize until you get out there and you're talking to people that everyone has a story in that regard. So I think personal safety is really a priority on a lot of people's minds.
Yeah, and some of that is, You know, you talk about targeted lighting and security patrolling the trailways and what have you. It's also that relationship between law enforcement, in this case the RNC, and the City of St. John's. You know, like even when people were talking about the nature and the feel of the downtown core, whether it be after hours and the patrons of the bars, what have you, but even in the daytime at the pedestrian mall with the numbers of people there that were doing drugs and drinking out in the open and the panhandling and what have you. You know, the concept was maybe we get the cops in the old traditional walk the beat. And the police told us consequently that wasn't a great utilization of resources. But that relationship between the RNC and the city is also probably the number one place to start when we talk about how we feel and the activity that we see on behalf of law enforcement.
I think so, absolutely. And I mean, you know, this is going on. Nobody wants to see open drug usage. It's a big problem, not just in the downtown core. Of course, it's a very specific problem to that area. But I live in Ward 4 myself. I'm in the New Cove Road area. I see that across the street from myself. I see the discarded needles, the discarded drug paraphernalia. Maybe we have to get back to some of these basic things, like you said, RNC out walking the beat. But there has to be that open line of communication between them and the city. Nothing is going to change or get better unless we start communicating really effectively and also working together. And if I may, just before I go, I just wanted to mention to everyone that, of course, today is the deadline for the mail-in ballots. If you miss that deadline, don't panic. There are sites all across St. John's where if you have your mail-in ballot completed, you can drop them off. That's right up until Election Day on October 2nd. If you're not registered to vote, you can register on Election Day, and you can vote on Election Day right here in Ward 4. It's at the Ken Mount Terrace Community Center on 85 Messenger Drive. Make sure you have the appropriate identification with you. All the links to that are on my personal Facebook page and my Vote Trinity Bragg Ward 4 page. They're also all over the City of St. John's website. I can't stress how important it is that everyone get out and vote. Every vote counts. Every vote matters. If we want to start turning St. John's around, it has to start by people getting out and voting and being proactive.
Hear, hear. Trini, I appreciate your time. I wish you good luck.
Thank you so much, Patty, and I hope to talk to you again soon. Take care.
You too. Bye-bye. It's Trini Bragg, running in Ward 4 here in the City of St. John's. I do get repeated questions about, look, I did not get a ballot, or unfortunately, on the other side of that coin, I got way too many ballots. And we hear the stories, and we've got to figure this out. So the next edition of Council, one of the key priorities is going to be figuring out that voter list. How many emails do I have with accompanying pictures? You know, there's a husband and wife living in the house. Their 2 adult kids have moved out. They get 7 ballots. One for each of them, one each for their kids who are no longer living there, and those for whoever owned the home prior. I mean, that's just ridiculous, and that's got to change. And for those who did not get a ballot yet, which is also a question that I get a lot of, if you go to Access St. John's, they're the crowd responsible for the ballot. Even if you don't get one and you want to vote on an election day proper, or when the election closes on October 2nd, if you go to any of the satellite drop-off sites with the appropriate piece of identification, you can get a ballot, cast it there, your vote will be counted. All right, let's see. Final check-in on the Twitter box. We're VOCM Open Line. Follow us there. Email address is openline@vocm.com. And if you send along an email, maybe include some context to some of the blurts that I get. Like, one of the most recent ones is, how do I sleep at night? Well, number one, I don't sleep very well. And number two, what are you talking about? Let's take a break. When we come back, Wilf wants to talk about the ballots, and Harry wants to talk about the MOU, and then we're speaking with you. Don't go away. Welcome back to the show. Let's go to line number 2. Wilf, you're on the air.
Good day, Mr. Daly. How are you today?
Doing very well. How about you?
No, not too bad. Thank you for taking my call and taking up your valuable time. About 2 weeks ago, my son never voted in the city election or provincial, but he did the federal one, so he was registered for that already. I went online to check my name, my wife, my oldest son. We were there. I put his name in, unlisted, please register. We filled out his form online, submitted his driver's license, got a confirmation number. You are registered. Your ballot will be sent to you. So yesterday we got our mail-out ballots. I got mine, my wife, my eldest son. My youngest son got 2. Now, what happened there, they had a sequence of names properly. I'm not going to use his real name. Just say his name was Peter James Walsh. That one was legitimate. The next one was James Walsh Peter. Middle name was first, last name was middle, first name was last. With the same address. I said, okay, something's wrong here. So I phoned the city about it this morning. And so the lady was transferring me to the elections person in charge. And I was on hold for 15 minutes. No one answered the phone. I got disconnected. Okay, great. Ran the errand, came back, phoned the city again. Another gentleman said, I'll give you the number to call. The elections office. I called that. A machine cut in saying our mailbox is full. Try at a later date. Perfect. So I read the back of the ballot. It says, it is against the law to use more than one ballot or vote under another name. If found guilty, offenders may be subject to a fine and or imprisonment as per Sections 99 and 100 of the Municipal Elections Act. This is not his fault, and I'm not stressing or panicking over this. I just find it hilarious. They post that, but somebody turned around and sent them two ballots, one legit, the other one with his name mixed up. And the reason I got from the first operator at City Hall, she said, did he vote in the federal election? I says, yes. But he voted Peter James Walsh, not James Walsh Peter. So this don't make sense to me how his name got mixed up in the wrong rotation to get a second ballot for the city one. When we registered him online with his proper name, his birth date, address, phone number, and his driver's license to confirm this information. So no one's responding. No one's taking phone calls, and you can't leave a message to anybody to fix this. And they got to be mailed in by tomorrow, or yes, we can drop them off at a later date before October the 2nd. How many more things are like this are going out for this election? I'm wondering.
It's a fair question. I mean, when they send you out multiple ballots and then they have the disclaimer on the back that you could face a fine, that kind of stuff, it's like entrapment. They're setting you up to do something that they're responsible for. But, I mean, people should obviously do their level best to not commit any election fraud and fill out the extra ballots that are sent to your home. But this is a nuisance. And as I said going into the break, they've got to fix the voter list. We just can't be just using the federal list or using the provincial list because things change. People move. Things happen. People die. Right? I mean, it's just got to be better.
Like, I know we had the NDP candidate for the provincial election knocking on our door the other day. And there's, confirming who lives here. Yeah, that's me. That's my wife. That's my oldest son. You don't have my middle boy. I got him registered 2 weeks ago for the provincial one as well. Oh, what's his name? We'll make sure it's going to be added. So they put his name down, proper sequence, took his birth date and his phone number. And the address is still the same. So they confirmed, but the PC or Liberal candidate never came through here yet, probably not, since they're all time constrained to, doing other things. But I registered in the proper sequence, going online. There's a simple way of doing things, but then someone still submitted a wrong sequence of a name. So I don't know who they got hired on, double-checking information that's being submitted by the person who wants to vote. This is baffling.
It is, and it shouldn't be that way. Wilf, I appreciate your time. Thanks for doing it.
Have a great day, sir. Thank you.
You too. Bye-bye. Likely the final word goes to line number 4. Harry, you're on the air.
Hi. Thank you very much for taking my call.
No problem.
One advantage of staying and waiting in the lineup is you get a chance to listen to all the people calling in. And what amazed me was all the people who called in who are looking for municipal election opportunities. And these are all people who are concerned about their constituents. They want to have input into the taxation, to the placement of cameras, the security of their citizens. And they all give their credentials. And I noticed not one of them had to say, I'm a Liberal, or I'm a PC, or I'm a NDP. But for some reason, this MOU, these people who are concerned about the welfare of the constituents of Newfoundland and Labrador, they want some input into what the income is, what the well-being of them are. All of a sudden, we have to wear a placard. We're either Liberals or PCs. And disclosure, I'm a registered Liberal. I voted for Mr. Hogan. However, I am a thinker. And when I look at the MOU, I look at individual circumstances, and I make up my individual mind. And as an individual, I call in You are the best way to talk to the general public. So when I call in, I'm not a liberal. I mean, I could be an Anglican or Roman Catholic. It's nothing to do with religion. It's concern for the well-being of the people of Newfoundland and Labrador.
Fair ball.
Now, that being said,
okay, let's get going before we run out of time.
Yeah, okay. We have a company called CFLCO. They have a board of directors, and I look at them individually. They only have 2 customers. The board of directors' mandate is to be profitable. Now you have one customer come to you and say, listen, we are concerned about our supply and pricing system because we want longer term. We're going to expire in 41. We want another deal. So as the board of directors, you say, okay, here's an opportunity. This customer buys 90% of my product. So let's see what the products work. You talk to your customer. He said, well, if I got to go somewhere else, it's going to cost me 10, 13 cents a kilo, watt or a volt, whatever the hell it is. So then you as a board of directors sit down and say, okay, now how do we make CFLCO more profitable? Okay, we go back to these people who said that they'd have to replace it at 11 or 12 cents. We'll give it to you for 5.9. And I'm saying, as a person who has an interest in that company, but that don't sound very sensible. So if I have anybody promoting that idea, whether it be CFLCO, whether it be the provincial government, whether it be Mr. Hogan, whoever he is, then I have a problem with it. So I voice that concern. And that's just one issue. So with that one issue alone, I think that's enough for concerned Newfoundlanders. I don't care what stripe they are, what sex they are, what religion they are. That's concern enough to say, hey, somebody should take a look at this. And I know you're pressed for time, so I'll leave it there.
Well, we still have another minute or two, Harry, if you'd like to expand on that. That's no problem.
Well, it's that in itself. It's being pushed down a political rabbit hole, because if you look at something and if Brian Tobin said something to me, I'd have to go check it to make sure, because I wouldn't believe a word he said. Now, that's my own personal experience, and that's political. That's got nothing to do with this MOU. This is not political. This is something that will have impact on the people of Newfoundland and Labrador for 50 to 75 years. And they say, well, it's not a really important issue here. Your earlier call said there's no polls or no surveys done on it. And NTV did one, and they came back, and people thought it wasn't an important election issue. And I'm saying, where are they? What are they thinking about? This is something that will affect the income, the quality of health care, the quality of everything that we do here in Newfoundland. It has potential to either help or harm. Not if you're a liberal, not if you're a PC, not if you're a Christian, not if you're anything. It has the ability of affecting your welfare. And you should take the time to either do something to say, hey, let's have a look at this, because here's an opportunity, and it sounds like we're missing something.
Yeah, because governments are going to change hands many, many times before this eventual contract runs out. So it's a fair point and a fair way to look at it, Harry. And you have indeed had the last word this morning, and I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye-bye. Yeah, when you look at it simply as the political party currently in power, I understand how and why that happens, but the governments will change hands however many times before, whenever this gets signed, because it kind of feels like it's going to eventually get signed, not because I say so, because the two negotiating sides say so, and it's going to be decades of implications. All right, good show today. Big thanks to all hands, and we will indeed pick up this conversation again tomorrow morning, right here on VOCM and Big Land FM's Open Line. On behalf of the producer, David Williams, I'm your host, Paddy Daly. Have yourself a safe, fun, happy day. We'll talk in the morning. Bye-bye.